The Galactic Conundrum. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, where countless stars birthed civilizations beyond imagination, there existed a problem that confounded even the most brilliant minds. The Galactic Council, an assembly of the universe's most advanced species, had grappled with this enigma for millennia. It was known simply as the Cosmic Conundrum, a puzzle so intricate and multifaceted that it was said to hold the secrets of existence itself. The Council's Grand Chamber, a massive amphitheater floating in the void between stars, buzzed with nervous energy. Delegates from 1,000 worlds murmured in their native tongues, a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses that the universal translators struggled to keep up with. At the center of it all stood High Counselor Zix, a being of pure energy contained within a shimmering force field. Esteemed colleagues, Zix's voice resonated through the chamber, silencing the chatter. For 10,000 cycles, we have sought the answer to the cosmic conundrum. Our finest minds have failed. Our most advanced quantum computers have fallen short. We stand at an impasse, and our civilizations stagnate without the knowledge locked within this puzzle. The holographic display above Zix flickered to life, showing a swirling mass of symbols, equations, and multidimensional shapes that seemed to defy the laws of physics. It was beautiful and terrifying in its complexity. But today, Zix continued, we have received a transmission from a world on the outer spiral arm of our galaxy. A world we had dismissed as primitive, unworthy of our attention. They call it Earth. A ripple of surprise coursed through the audience. Earth was a backwater, a planet barely able to send creatures to its own moon. What could they possibly offer? Meanwhile, on that very planet, in a small town nestled among rolling hills and dense forests, a young girl named Zara sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor. Her walls were covered in posters of galaxies and quantum formulas, and her shelves overflowed with books on astronomy, physics, and mathematics. But Zara wasn't reading any of those at the moment. Instead, her bright green eyes were fixed on a handheld game console. Zara, her mother called from downstairs. "Dinner's ready." "Just a minute, Mom," Zara replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "I'm about to beat the unbeatable level." On the screen, a complex maze of shifting patterns and colors responded to Zara's input. To anyone else, it might have looked like chaos, but to Zara, it was a dance of logic and intuition. With a final flourish, she input the last sequence, and the screen exploded in a victory animation. Yes, Zara pumped her fist in the air. I knew there had to be a pattern. As she bounded down the stairs, taking them two at a time, Zara had no idea that her ability to see patterns where others saw only confusion was about to change the course of human history. The next morning, as Zara walked to school, the sky lit up with an otherworldly glow. She stopped in her tracks, mouth agape, as a massive ship descended through the clouds. It was like nothing she had ever seen, a structure of impossible geometry that seemed to bend light around it. All around her, people were pointing and shouting. Some ran for cover, while others stood transfixed. Zara felt no fear, only an overwhelming sense of wonder and excitement. This was what she had dreamed of her entire life, proof that humanity was not alone in the universe. As the ship touched down in the town square, a hush fell over the crowd. A door that wasn't there a moment before simply appeared, and out stepped a being that defied description. It was vaguely humanoid, but its skin shimmered with colors that shifted like oil on water. Its eyes, if you could call them that, were swirling vortexes of light. The alien raised a hand-like appendage, and when it spoke, its words appeared directly in everyone's minds. "People of Earth," it said, its mental voice calm and melodious. "We are the Galactic Council, and we come seeking your help." In the days that followed, the world turned upside down. Governments scrambled to respond, media outlets ran 24/7 coverage, and ordinary people tried to come to grips with the reality that not only were we not alone, but that somehow, improbably, the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy needed our help. The nature of that help, however, remained a mystery. The aliens who called themselves the HFY were maddeningly vague about the details. They spoke of a great puzzle, a challenge that had stumped the brightest minds in the cosmos. But when pressed for specifics, they would only say that the solution required a unique perspective that they believed humanity might possess. World leaders debated endlessly about how to respond. Should we send our top scientists, our most powerful supercomputers? As the discussions dragged on, Zara found herself growing increasingly frustrated. She knew deep in her bones that this was important, perhaps the most important thing that had ever happened to humanity. One evening, as Zara sat at her desk, absent-mindedly solving a Rubik's Cube while watching the news, she had an idea. She pulled out her tablet and began to write, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she poured out her thoughts. "Dear Galactic Council," she began, "my name is Zara, and I'm 12 years old. I know I'm just a kid, but I think I might be able to help with your puzzle." She went on to describe her love of patterns, her ability to see connections where others couldn't, and her burning desire to make a difference. She didn't expect anyone to actually read it, but it made her feel better to put her thoughts into words. What Zara didn't know was that her message, sent through channels set up for public communication with the alien visitors, was about to set off a chain of events that would reshape the galaxy. High above Earth, in the HFY ship, First Emissary Lyra was sifting through the countless messages from humans eager to help. Most were from adults, scientists, mathematicians, and even a few who claimed to be psychics. But something about Zara's message caught Lyra's attention. The emissary's multifaceted eyes whirled as she considered the implications. Could it be that the fresh, unbiased perspective they needed had been here all along, not in humanity's greatest minds, but in its children? Lyra composed a reply, her thoughts transforming into text. "Dear Zara, thank you for your message. We would be very interested in learning more about your approach to problem solving. Would you be willing to meet with us?" When Zara received the response, she could hardly believe it. Her parents were skeptical at first, worried about their daughter's safety. But as news spread of the aliens' interest in a local girl, the town rallied around the family. If there was a chance, however small, that Zara could help humanity make its mark on the galactic stage, they would support her. The day of the meeting arrived, and Zara found herself standing before the HFY ship, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nerves. Her parents stood behind her, offering silent support. As the door materialized, Lyra stepped out, her form shimmering in the sunlight. She knelt down to Zara's level, her swirling eyes meeting the girl's steady gaze. "Hello, Zara," Lyra's thoughts echoed in the girl's mind. "Are you ready to see something truly extraordinary?" Zara nodded, words failing her for once. As she stepped into the ship, leaving the familiar world behind, she had no way of knowing that she was about to embark on an adventure that would change not just her life, but the fate of every sentient being in the galaxy. The interior of the ship was a marvel of alien engineering. Surfaces shifted and reformed as they walked, adapting to their needs. Zara's eyes darted everywhere, trying to take it all in. "What you are about to see," Lyra explained as they approached a shimmering portal, "is a representation of the cosmic conundrum. It has defeated our greatest minds for millennia. Are you prepared to look upon it?" Zara took a deep breath, steeling herself. "I'm ready," she said, her voice small but determined. As they stepped through the portal, the universe seemed to unfold around them. They stood in what appeared to be an infinite space, surrounded by swirling patterns of light and energy. Equations and symbols danced through the air, forming complex structures before dissolving again. "This," Lyra said, her mental voice filled with awe, "is the puzzle that holds the secrets of existence. Can you see any patterns, Zara?" Zara's mind raced as she took in the spectacle before her. At first, it seemed overwhelming, chaotic. But as she focused, letting her intuition guide her, she began to see something. Connections hidden in the chaos, rhythms in the seemingly random fluctuations. I think I see something," Zara said hesitantly. It's like a game I once played. The rules keep changing, but there's always a pattern if you look hard enough. Lyra's form pulsed with excitement. Can you describe what you see? As Zara began to explain, pointing out connections and relationships that had eluded the greatest minds in the galaxy, Lyra realized that they had indeed found something unique in this young human. The way Zara's mind worked, unencumbered by preconceived notions or rigid scientific doctrine, allowed her to see the puzzle in a way no one else had. Zara, Lyra said, her thoughts tinged with hope, would you be willing to come with us to the Galactic Council, to share what you see with the assembled wisdom of 1,000 worlds? The enormity of the request hit Zara like a tidal wave. Leave Earth, travel to the stars. It was everything she had ever dreamed of, but the reality of it was overwhelming. Can my parents come? She asked, her voice small. Lyra's form rippled in what Zara realized was the ethereal equivalent of a smile. Of course, we would not separate you from your family. As they left the simulation, returning to the more conventional interior of the ship, Zara's mind was ablaze with possibilities. She knew that whatever happened next would change everything, for her, for humanity, and perhaps for the entire galaxy. What she didn't know was that her journey was just beginning, and that the true challenge and the true wonders still lay ahead. As the ethereal ship prepared to return to the stars, this time with a young human girl and her family aboard, the people of Earth looked to the sky with a mixture of hope and trepidation. In the great tapestry of cosmic civilizations, humanity had been but a single, unremarkable thread. But now, thanks to the unique perspective of a child, that thread was about to be woven into something greater than anyone could have imagined. The stage was set for an adventure that would reshape the galaxy, all because a curious girl from a backwater planet dared to see patterns in the chaos. An unlikely candidate. The ethereal ship glided silently through the vast expanse of space, its impossible geometries bending starlight around it. Inside, Zara pressed her face against a view screen, her green eyes wide with wonder as she watched her home planet shrink to a small blue marble. It's so beautiful, she whispered, her breath fogging the screen. Behind her, Zara's parents, Michael and Elena, sat huddled together, still trying to process the whirlwind of events that had led them here. Just days ago, they had been living ordinary lives in their small town. Now, they were hurtling through space towards a gathering of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. First emissary Lyra approached, her form shimmering with subtle patterns of light. Zara, she communicated telepathically, we will soon be arriving at the Galactic Council headquarters. Are you ready to present your insights? Zara turned from the view screen, a mix of excitement and nervousness playing across her face. I think so, she said, biting her lower lip. But what if I'm wrong? What if I can't help after all? Lyra's form pulsed gently, a gesture Zara had come to recognize as reassurance. Your unique perspective is valuable, regardless of the outcome. The Council seeks fresh ideas, and you have already shown an ability to see patterns where others cannot. As Lyra spoke, the ship decelerated, and a massive structure came into view. The Galactic Council headquarters was a marvel of engineering, a series of interconnected rings and spheres that seemed to float in the void, each segment housing representatives from different star systems. Wow, Zara breathed, her earlier nervousness momentarily forgotten in the face of such grandeur. The ship docked smoothly with one of the outer rings, and as the airlock cycled, Zara felt a flutter of butterflies in her stomach. This was it, the moment she'd step into a world beyond anything she'd ever imagined. As the doors slid open, Zara and her parents were greeted by a delegation of beings so diverse it defied description. They were entities of pure energy, crystalline beings that chimed melodiously as they moved, and creatures that seemed to exist in more dimensions than Zara could perceive. At the forefront stood High Counselor Zix, that energy form contained within a shimmering force field. Welcome, young Zara of Earth, Zix's thoughts resonated in everyone's minds. We have eagerly awaited your arrival. Zara swallowed hard and stepped forward. "Thank you, High Counselor," she said, her voice small but steady. "I hope I can help." As they moved through the station towards the grand chamber, Zora couldn't help but notice as skeptical looks, or what passed for looks among such diverse beings, directed her way. Whispers and telepathic murmurs followed in their wake. "A child? Surely this is a jest." Half the Aetheri lost their minds. What could a primitive species possibly offer? Zora's shoulders hunched slightly, but she pressed on, reminding herself of all the times she'd proven adults wrong back on Earth. This was just on a slightly larger scale, right? The grand chamber was a sight to behold, a vast amphitheater that seemed to defy the laws of physics, with delegates from 1,000 worlds seated in gravity-defying arrangements. At the center was a holographic display of the cosmic conundrum, its swirling patterns even more complex and beautiful than Zora remembered. High Counselor Zix took their place at the podium. "Esteemed colleagues," they began, their thoughts echoing through the chamber. "For millennia, we have sought the key to unlocking the cosmic conundrum. Today, we welcome a new perspective, one from a species we had long overlooked." A ripple of surprise and skepticism ran through the audience as Zix continued. "I present to you Zora of Earth, who has shown a remarkable ability to perceive patterns within the conundrum." All eyes, and other sensory organs, turned to Zora. She felt small, insignificant in the face of such ancient and advanced beings. But then she felt her mother's hand on her shoulder, grounding her, reminding her of who she was. Taking a deep breath, Zora stepped forward. "Hello," she began, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'm honored to be here. I know I'm young, and my species is new to interstellar travel, but I think I might be able to help." She turned to the holographic display, its intricate patterns reflected in her eyes. "When I look at the conundrum, I don't see chaos. I see a game." A murmur ran through the crowd. Zix leaned forward, intrigued. "Please explain," they urged. Zora nodded, warming to her subject. "It's like this really complex puzzle game I play. The rules keep changing, but there's always a pattern. You just have to look at it differently." She began to point out connections, relationships between seemingly unrelated elements. As she spoke, her confidence grew. This was what she was good at, seeing the hidden logic in complex systems. Some of the delegates leaned forward, their interest piqued. Others remained skeptical, their doubt palpable in the air. One delegate, a being of crystalline structure, chimed in. "With all due respect, High Counselor, how can we trust the ramblings of a child? We have devoted our most advanced AI to this problem for centuries." Zora felt a flash of indignation. Before she could respond, another voice cut through the chamber, a deep, resonant tone that seemed to vibrate at a fundamental frequency. "And yet, young one," the voice belonged to an ancient entity known as the Mnemosyne Collective, a hive mind that had existed for millions of years. "Your perspective is refreshing. You see connections where our logic has failed. Please continue." Emboldened by this support, Zora dove deeper into her explanation. She began to manipulate the holographic display, her intuitive understanding of its interface surprising even the Aetheri. As she worked, something extraordinary began to happen. The swirling chaos of the conundrum started to shift, patterns emerging and resolving in ways that had never been seen before. The chamber fell silent, all attention focused on the display and the small human girl controlling it. Even the most skeptical delegates watched in rapt attention as new aspects of the ancient puzzle revealed themselves. Hours passed, though in the excitement, no one seemed to notice. Zora worked tirelessly, her mind racing as she unraveled layer after layer of the conundrum's complexity. Finally, exhausted but exhilarated, Zora stepped back from the display. The cosmic conundrum hadn't been solved. Not yet, but it had been transformed. New pathways had been opened, new possibilities revealed. High Counselor Zix's form pulsed with barely contained excitement. "In all our millennia of study, we have never seen the conundrum respond like this. Zora of Earth, You have given us hope where before there was only frustration. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of excitement, clicks, whistles, electromagnetic pulses, and 1,000 other forms of communication blending into a symphony of discovery. Zara swayed slightly, the enormity of what had just happened washing over her. Her father stepped forward, supporting her. I think that's enough for today, he said firmly. Zara needs rest. Six nodded, understanding dawning in their swirling form. Of course. We forget sometimes that other species have different endurance levels. Zara, you have done more in these few hours than many have accomplished in lifetimes. Rest, and we shall continue tomorrow. As Zara was led from the chamber, the delegates broke into excited discussion. The cosmic conundrum, which had remained stubbornly opaque for so long, now shimmered with new possibility. In their private quarters, Zara collapsed onto a bed that seemed to mold itself to her body. Did that really just happen, she asked, her voice filled with wonder and exhaustion. Her mother sat beside her, stroking her hair. It did, sweetheart. You were amazing. But I didn't solve it, Zara mumbled, her eyes already closing. No, her father said, his voice filled with pride. But you've given the greatest minds in the galaxy a new way to look at it. That's pretty incredible. As Zara drifted off to sleep, her mind still swirling with the patterns of the conundrum, the news of her breakthrough was spreading across the station. In the Grand Chamber, the Mnemosyne Collective conferred with High Counselor Zix. This child has shown us that our accumulated knowledge, vast as it is, can be a limitation, the collective intoned. Her mind, unburdened by our preconceptions, sees paths we had never considered. Zix's form shimmered in agreement. Indeed, but this is only the beginning. The real challenge lies ahead. Meanwhile, in a shadowy corner of the station, a group of delegates met in secret. This cannot be allowed to continue, one hissed. If the conundrum is solved, the balance of power in the galaxy will shift. We must intervene. As plots were hatched and alliances formed and broken, Zara slept peacefully, unaware of the political storm brewing around her. She dreamed of patterns and puzzles, of stars and distant worlds. The next day would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and dangers she could never have imagined. But for now, in the quiet of her room, Zara was simply a tired girl who had taken the first step on an incredible journey. As the artificial day cycle of the station began, signaling the start of a new period of activity, anticipation hung in the air. What new insights would the young human bring? How would her fresh perspective continue to reshape their understanding of the cosmic conundrum? And in the shadows, those who feared change watched and waited, their plans set in motion. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine not just the fate of the conundrum, but the future of galactic civilization itself. Zara stirred in her sleep, a small smile playing on her lips. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them. After all, every puzzle had a solution. You just had to find the right pattern. Journey to the stars. As the artificial dawn broke over the Galactic Council station, Zara awoke to a world that still felt like a dream. The events of the previous day came flooding back. Her presentation, the breakthrough, the mix of awe and skepticism from the assembled delegates. She sat up in her morphing bed, its surface adjusting to support her new position. "Good morning, Zara," came Lyra's telepathic voice. "I hope you rested well. The Council is eager to continue our work on the conundrum." Zara stretched, her mind already racing with new ideas. "I'm ready," she replied, her voice filled with determination. As she prepared for the day ahead, Zara couldn't help but notice the tension in her parents' faces. They smiled encouragingly, but there was worry in their eyes. "Sweetheart," her mother began gently, "are you sure you're up for this? It's okay if you want to take a break." Zara shook her head. "Mom, this is important. I can feel it. I have to keep going." Her father nodded, pride mixing with concern. "We're here for you, no matter what. Just be careful, okay? This is bigger than anything we've ever dealt with before." As they made their way to the grand chamber, Zara noticed subtle changes in the atmosphere of the station. Some delegates nodded respectfully as she passed, while others huddled in whispered conversations that fell silent as she approached. The air crackled with an energy that was part excitement, part apprehension. In the chamber, the cosmic conundrum pulsed and shimmered, its patterns subtly altered by Zara's insights from the day before. High Counselor Zix greeted them, that energy form radiating what Zara had come to recognize as enthusiasm. "Welcome back, Zara of Earth," Zix's thoughts resonated. "Are you prepared to continue our exploration?" Zara nodded, stepping up to the holographic interface. As she began to work, manipulating the complex patterns with an intuition that astounded the watching delegates, she felt herself slipping into a state of flow. The chamber, the watching eyes, even her own body seemed to fade away. There was only the puzzle, the dance of symbols and energy. Hours passed, marked only by the shifting patterns of the conundrum. Zara's parents watched in amazement as their daughter, usually so full of restless energy, worked with a focus and intensity they had never seen before. Suddenly, Zara's hands froze mid-gesture. Her eyes widened, and she let out a small gasp. "What is it?" Zix asked, leaning forward. "I think," Zara began, her voice filled with wonder. "I think I see a path. It's like a door hidden in the pattern, if we can just figure out how to open it." The chamber erupted in excitement. Delegates conferred rapidly, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of discovery. But as Zara reached out to manipulate the newly revealed door, a sharp crack echoed through the chamber. A bolt of energy lanced through the air, narrowly missing Zara and impacting the holographic display. The conundrum's patterns wavered and distorted. "Protect the human," Zix's voice boomed as chaos erupted. Security forces materialized seemingly out of nowhere, surrounding Zara and her family. Through the confusion, Zara caught glimpses of a group of delegates being restrained, the source of the attack. "This cannot be allowed," one of them shrieked in a high, keening voice. "The conundrum must remain unsolved. The balance must be maintained." As they were rushed from the chamber, Zara's mind reeled. The puzzle she had seen as a fascinating challenge had suddenly become something much more dangerous. In the safety of a secure room, Laura explained the situation. "There are those who fear what the solution to the conundrum might bring," she said gently. "They believe that some knowledge is too dangerous to be uncovered." Zara's father stepped forward, his face a mask of anger and fear. "That's it. We're leaving. This is too dangerous." But Zara shook her head, her eyes blazing with a determination that surprised even her. "No, Dad. We can't leave now. This is too important." "Zara, honey," her mother began, but Zara cut her off. "Mom, Dad, listen. This isn't just about solving a puzzle anymore. It's about doing what's right. If the conundrum holds knowledge that could help people, we can't just walk away because it's dangerous." Her parents exchanged a look, a silent communication born of years together. Finally, her father sighed. "You're right. But from now on, we do this together, as a family." Zara nodded, feeling a surge of love and gratitude for her parents. She turned to Lyra and Zix, who had been watching the exchange silently. "What do we do now?" she asked. Zix's form shimmered thoughtfully. "We continue our work, but with caution. The station will be locked down, security increased. And Zara, we may need to accelerate our timeline. If there are those willing to resort to violence to stop us, we must solve the conundrum before they can make another attempt." As plans were made and security measures implemented, Zara found herself at the center of a storm that encompassed the entire galaxy. The next phase of their journey would take them deeper into the mysteries of the conundrum and into dangers they had yet to imagine. But as Zara looked at the determination on her parents' faces, felt the support of allies like Lyra and Zix, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she wouldn't face them alone. Together, they would unravel the greatest mystery the galaxy had ever known. The challenge begins. The days that followed the attack were a whirlwind of activity. The Galactic Council station hummed with heightened security measures, delegates from various factions engaged in heated debates, and through it all, Zara worked tirelessly on the cosmic conundrum. The holographic chamber had been reinforced, now accessible only through a series of complex security protocols. As Zara stood before the shimmering display, her parents flanking her protectively, she felt the weight of expectation pressing down on her young shoulders. "Remember," High Counselor Zix's thoughts resonated gently, "there is no pressure to solve the conundrum immediately. Your safety is our primary concern." Zara nodded, taking a deep breath. "I understand, but I think I'm close to something big." As she began to work, manipulating the intricate patterns with growing confidence, the chamber fell into a hushed silence. Even the most skeptical delegates watched in rapt attention as new configurations emerged, layers of complexity peeling away to reveal deeper truths. Hours passed, marked only by the shifting colors of the holographic display and the occasional murmur of astonishment from the watching crowd. Zara's parents exchanged worried glances as their daughter worked with an intensity that seemed almost trance-like. Suddenly, Zara's hands froze mid-gesture. Her eyes widened, and a small gasp escaped her lips. "Zara?" her mother asked, concern evident in her voice. "What is it, sweetheart?" I think I found something," Zara whispered, her voice filled with awe. "It's like a key. But not just one key. Millions of them, all interconnected." The chamber erupted in a flurry of excitement. Delegates conferred rapidly, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of discovery. High Counselor Zix leaned forward, that energy form pulsing with barely contained enthusiasm. "Can you explain what you see, Zara?" Zara nodded, her eyes never leaving the display. "It's hard to put into words. It's like, imagine a huge library with millions of books. But each book is also a key that unlocks other books, and the story in each book changes depending on which keys you use to open it." She paused, frustration creasing her brow. "I'm not explaining it well. It's so clear in my head, but—" "You're doing fine, Zara," her father reassured her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Take your time." Zara took a deep breath, centering herself. "Okay, so the conundrum isn't just one puzzle. It's millions of interconnected puzzles, and each solution doesn't just answer a question, it asks new ones. It's like the universe is having a conversation with itself, and we've just figured out how to listen in." A hush fell over the chamber as the implications of Zara's discovery sank in. The Mnemosyne Collective, their ancient consciousness humming with excitement, broke the silence. "Young one," their resonant voice filled the chamber, "you have glimpsed the true nature of the cosmic conundrum. It is not a single mystery to be solved, but a framework for understanding the very fabric of existence." Zara nodded, relieved that someone understood. "Yes, that's it exactly. But I don't think I can solve it all. It's too big, too complex." "Perhaps," Zix mused, their thoughts tinged with wonder. "That is the point. The conundrum was never meant to be solved in the traditional sense. It is a tool for ongoing discovery, a means of asking questions we never knew to ask." As the implications of this revelation rippled through the assembled delegates, Zara felt a sudden wave of exhaustion wash over her. The intensity of her focus, the weight of her discovery, came crashing down all at once. Her mother, ever vigilant, noticed immediately. "I think that's enough for today," she said firmly, her tone brooking no argument. "Zara needs rest." There were murmurs of protest from some delegates, eager to continue the exploration, but Zix silenced them with a pulse of energy. "Zara has given us more in these few days than we have discovered in millennia. She has earned her rest." As they left the chamber, Zara leaning heavily on her father for support, the station buzzed with excited discussions. The nature of the cosmic conundrum had been fundamentally altered, and with it, the future of galactic civilization. In their private quarters, as Zara drifted off to sleep, her parents conferred in hushed tones. "This is bigger than we ever imagined," her father whispered, a mix of pride and fear in his voice. Her mother nodded, her eyes never leaving their sleeping daughter. She's so young to carry this burden, but I've never seen her so alive. As Zara slept, her dreams filled with swirling patterns and infinite possibilities, the Galactic Council grappled with the implications of her discovery. Security measures were tightened further as the threat from those who feared change loomed larger than ever. In a secluded corner of the station, a group of dissenting delegates met in secret. "The human child has gone too far," one hissed. "If this continues, the power structures we have maintained for eons will crumble." "Then we must act decisively," another replied, its crystalline form vibrating with tension. "The conundrum must remain unsolved at any cost." As plots were hatched and alliances tested, Zara slept peacefully, unaware of the storm gathering around her. The next phase of their journey would push her abilities to their limit, testing not just her intellect, but her courage and determination. The challenge had truly begun, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. But for now, in the quiet of her room, Zara was simply a tired girl who had taken another step on an incredible journey. Tomorrow would bring new wonders, new dangers, and discoveries beyond imagination. As the artificial night cycle of the station deepened, casting shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own, the cosmic conundrum pulsed gently in its chamber. The patterns Zara had unlocked shimmered with potential, waiting for the moment when they would reveal their secrets and change the course of history forever. Revelation and resistance. The artificial dawn broke over the Galactic Council station, its soft light filtering through the translucent walls of Zara's quarters. She awoke slowly, her mind still swirling with the patterns and possibilities of the cosmic conundrum. As she sat up, she noticed her parents engaged in a hushed conversation with Lyra and High Counselor Zix. "What's going on?" Zara asked, her voice still thick with sleep. The adults turned, a mix of concern and determination on their faces. Her father spoke first, his voice gentle but firm. "Sweetheart, there have been some developments overnight." Lyra stepped forward, her shimmering form pulsing with what Zara had come to recognize as agitation. "The news of your breakthrough has spread throughout the station and beyond. Many are excited by the possibilities, but others are afraid," Zix finished, their energy form flickering with concern. "There have been incidents." Zara's eyes widened as the implications sank in. "Incidents? You mean like the attack in the chamber?" Her mother nodded, moving to sit beside her on the bed. "There have been protests in some parts of the station. A few delegates have even left, refusing to be part of what they're calling a dangerous experiment." Zara felt a wave of guilt wash over her. Maybe we should stop. I don't want to cause trouble." "No," her father said firmly, surprising everyone with his vehemence. "Zara, what you're doing is important. More important than any of us realized at first. We can't let fear stop us from seeking the truth." Zix's form pulsed in agreement. "Your father is right, Zara. The cosmic conundrum has been a mystery for millennia. Now that we're on the verge of understanding it, we cannot turn back. The knowledge it contains could revolutionize our understanding of the universe itself." Zara nodded slowly, her resolve strengthening. "What do we do now?" Lyra stepped forward, her form shimmering with determination. "We continue our work, but with increased caution. The chamber has been further secured, and we've implemented new protocols to ensure your safety." As they made their way to the chamber, Zara couldn't help but notice the changed atmosphere of the station. Some delegates nodded respectfully as she passed, their eyes shining with hope and excitement. Others turned away, their postures radiating fear or hostility. The air crackled with tension, like the moment before a thunderstorm. Inside the chamber, the cosmic conundrum pulsed and shimmered, its patterns more complex and beautiful than ever. Zara approached the holographic interface, her hands steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Are you ready?" Zix asked gently. Zara took a deep breath, centering herself. "I'm ready." As she began to work, manipulating the intricate patterns with growing confidence, the chamber fell into a hushed silence. Even those who had expressed doubts watched in rapt attention as new configurations emerged, layers of complexity peeling away to reveal deeper truths. Hours passed, marked only by the shifting colors of the holographic display and the occasional murmur of astonishment from the watching crowd. Zora's parents exchanged worried glances as their daughter worked with an intensity that seemed almost otherworldly. Suddenly, Zara's hands froze mid-gesture. Her eyes widened, and a small gasp escaped her lips. "Zara," Lyra prompted gently, "what do you see?" It's beautiful," Zara whispered, her voice filled with awe. "And terrifying. I think I understand now." The chamber erupted in a flurry of excitement. Delegates conferred rapidly, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of anticipation. High Counselor Zix leaned forward, that energy form pulsing with barely contained enthusiasm. "Please, Zara, tell us what you've discovered." Zara took a deep breath, her eyes never leaving the swirling patterns before her. "The conundrum. It's not just a puzzle. It's a map of everything." She paused, struggling to find the words to express the vastness of what she was seeing. "It shows how everything is connected, not just in our universe, but in all possible universes. Every decision, every possibility, every potential future, it's all here." The chamber fell silent as the implications of Zara's words sank in. The Mnemosyne Collective, their ancient consciousness humming with excitement, broke the silence. "Child of Earth," their resonant voice filled the chamber, "you have glimpsed the fundamental nature of reality itself. The cosmic conundrum is not merely a puzzle to be solved, but a key to understanding the very fabric of existence." Zara nodded, relieved that someone understood. "Yes, and there's more. The map, it's not static. It's changing, growing. Every decision we make, every discovery, it all affects the pattern." As Zara continued to explain, her hands moving deftly over the holographic interface, the assembled delegates watched in awe. The cosmic conundrum was revealing itself to be far more than anyone had ever imagined, a living, evolving representation of all possible realities. But even as understanding dawned, bringing with it a sense of wonder and possibility, an undercurrent of fear rippled through the chamber. The implications of such knowledge were staggering and potentially dangerous. One delegate, a being of crystalline structure, chimed in with a tone of alarm. "If this is true, then the power contained within the conundrum is beyond measure. In the wrong hands, it could be used to manipulate reality itself." Murmurs of agreement and dissent rippled through the crowd. The tension in the chamber, already high, began to escalate. Zix raised that energy form, calling for calm. "This knowledge is indeed powerful, but that is precisely why we must continue to study and understand it. With great power comes great responsibility." But even as Zix spoke, a commotion erupted at the entrance to the chamber. A group of delegates, their forms radiating hostility, burst through the security measures. "This ends now," their leader, a being of swirling dark energy, declared. "The conundrum must remain unsolved. The balance of the galaxy depends on it." Chaos erupted as security forces engaged the intruders. In the confusion, Zara found herself separated from her parents, pushed back towards the holographic interface. "Zara." Her mother's panicked voice cut through the din. "Get away from there." But Zara couldn't move. Her eyes were locked on the swirling patterns of the conundrum, which seemed to be responding to the chaos around it. The map was shifting, changing, reflecting the turmoil in the chamber. As a stray bolt of energy lanced towards her, Zara instinctively raised her hands. To everyone's shock, the energy was absorbed into the holographic display, causing the patterns to shift dramatically. Time seemed to slow as Zara felt herself being drawn into the conundrum. The chamber, the shouting, even her own body seemed to fade away. There was only the pattern, the infinite map of all possibilities. In that moment, suspended between realities, Zara understood. The cosmic conundrum wasn't just a representation of the universe, it was a gateway to shaping it. With this realization came a choice. Zara could use this knowledge to end the conflict, to reshape reality according to her will. But doing so would be to impose her vision on the entire galaxy, perhaps the entire universe. Or she could step back, allowing the natural flow of events to continue, with all its chaos and potential. In the space between heartbeats, Zara made her decision. She pulled back, allowing the connection to fade. As she did, the chaos in the chamber seemed to freeze, every being locked in place as if time itself had stopped. Zara's voice, filled with a wisdom beyond her years, cut through the silence. This isn't something that can be controlled or owned. The conundrum is a gift, a tool for understanding. But it's up to all of us to decide how to use that understanding. As if a spell had been broken, movement returned to the chamber. The intruders, faced with the profound implications of what they had witnessed, lowered their weapons. The defenders stood down, all eyes turned to the young human girl standing before the shimmering display of the cosmos. High Counselor Zix, their form pulsing with a mix of awe and relief, spoke first. Zara of Earth, you've shown wisdom beyond your years. The choice you made today may well have shaped the future of our entire galaxy. As the tension in the chamber dissipated, replaced by a sense of wonder and possibility, Zara felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. She had glimpsed the fundamental nature of reality, had held the power to reshape it in her hands, and had chosen to share that power rather than wield it. The journey was far from over. The knowledge contained within the cosmic conundrum would take lifetimes to fully explore and understand. But in that moment, as Zara was reunited with her relieved parents, surrounded by beings from across the galaxy, a new era of cooperation and discovery was born. The challenge had been met, the resistance overcome. Now, the true work of understanding the universe in all its infinite complexity could begin. A new era dawns. The days following Zara's profound revelation blurred together in a whirlwind of activity. The Galactic Council station, once a place of structured debate and careful diplomacy, had been transformed into a hub of frenetic energy and boundless possibility. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy, even those who had initially resisted the exploration of the cosmic conundrum, now worked together with renewed purpose. The chamber that housed the holographic interface had been expanded, allowing for larger groups to study the ever-shifting patterns that Zara had unlocked. Zara herself, despite her pivotal role in the discovery, found herself somewhat sidelined in the initial frenzy. Her parents, still protective and somewhat overwhelmed by the magnitude of recent events, insisted on periods of rest and normalcy. "You may have unlocked the secrets of the universe, sweetheart," her mother said with a mixture of pride and concern, "but you're still a growing girl who needs her sleep." Zara didn't mind the respite. The experience in the chamber, when she had been on the verge of reshaping reality itself, had left her with a profound sense of responsibility. She used the quiet moments to reflect, to process the enormity of what she had discovered and the choice she had made. As the initial excitement began to settle into a more structured exploration of the conundrum's possibilities, Zara found herself once again at the center of attention. But this time, it was different. The fear and skepticism that had initially greeted her insights had been replaced by a deep respect and eagerness to learn. High Counselor Zix, who had become something of a mentor to Zara, explained the shift. "Your decision, Zara, to share the knowledge rather than wield it, has profoundly impacted the way the Council views the conundrum. You've shown us that true wisdom lies not in holding power, but in collaborating to understand it." The Mnemosyne Collective, their vast consciousness humming with excitement, had taken a particular interest in Zara's unique perspective. "Young one," their resonant voice filled the chamber during one of the daily briefings, "your mind bridges the gap between intuition and logic in a way we have not seen before. We believe this is key to fully unlocking the potential of the cosmic conundrum." And so, a new routine emerged. Zara would spend mornings working directly with the conundrum, her intuitive understanding of its patterns guiding the more structured explorations of the gathered scientists and philosophers. Afternoons were dedicated to what Zara jokingly called conundrum school, sessions where she worked with delegates from various species, teaching them to see the patterns as she did. It was during one of these afternoon sessions, nearly a month after the initial breakthrough, that another momentous discovery was made. Zara was working with a group of younger delegates, beings closer to her own age from various species, when one of them, a floating cloud of sentient gas named Zephyr, made an observation. Zara, Zephyr's thoughts bubbled with excitement. I think I see something. In this section here, the pattern, it's not just showing possibilities, it's showing connections, like between different parts of the galaxy that should be too far apart to interact. Zara leaned in, her eyes widening as she saw what Zephyr had noticed. You're right, it's like a shortcut through space itself. The revelation sent shockwaves through the station. The cosmic conundrum, it seemed, wasn't just a map of reality. It was a guide to transcending the very laws of physics as they understood them. The implications were staggering. Faster-than-light travel, instantaneous communication across vast distances, perhaps even the ability to visit parallel realities, all seemed within reach. But with these incredible possibilities came new challenges and ethical dilemmas. The Galactic Council found itself grappling with questions that went beyond science and into the realm of philosophy and morality. If we can reshape the very fabric of space-time, one delegate argued during a particularly heated session, do we have the right to do so? What are the consequences of such actions? Zara, listening from her now permanent seat in the council chamber, felt the weight of these questions. She remembered the moment when she had held the power to reshape reality and had chosen not to. Now it seemed the entire galaxy faced a similar choice. It was the Mnemosyne Collective who proposed a solution. Perhaps, their ancient voice resonated through the chamber, the conundrum itself can guide us. If it is truly a living map of all possibilities, then it should be able to show us the consequences of our choices before we make them. The idea took hold, and a new phase of exploration began. The conundrum was no longer just an object of study, but an active participant in shaping the future of galactic civilization. Teams were formed to explore different aspects of the knowledge contained within the conundrum. Some focused on the scientific applications, others on the philosophical implications. Zara found herself moving between these groups, her unique perspective helping to bridge gaps in understanding. As the work progressed, changes began to ripple out across the galaxy. New technologies, inspired by insights from the conundrum, allowed for cleaner, more efficient energy production. Medical breakthroughs extended lifespans and cured diseases once thought incurable. Communication systems, enhanced by the understanding of quantum entanglement revealed in the conundrum's patterns, allowed for instantaneous exchange of information across vast distances. But perhaps the most profound change was in the way different species and civilizations interacted. The conundrum had revealed the fundamental interconnectedness of all things, and this understanding fostered a new era of cooperation and mutual respect. Conflicts that had raged for centuries began to find peaceful resolutions. Species that had once seen each other as alien and incomprehensible now found common ground. The galaxy, which had long been a place of division and strife, was slowly transforming into a true community. Through it all, Zara remained at the heart of the transformation, her initial discovery continuing to shape the course of history. But as the years passed, she found herself increasingly drawn back to her roots. On this Earth, she confided to her parents one evening, gazing out at the star-filled void beyond the station's translucent walls. I know the work we're doing here is important, but... Her father nodded, understanding in his eyes. It's still home. And so, 5 years after her fateful first encounter with the cosmic conundrum, Zara prepared to return to Earth. But this was no simple homecoming. Earth, which had been a relatively isolated planet when Zara left, was now poised to take its place as a full member of the galactic community. The day of departure arrived, and the docking bay was filled with delegates from across the galaxy, all there to bid farewell to the young human who had changed everything. High Counselor Zix, that energy form pulsing with emotion, spoke for all of them. Zora of Earth, they began, their thoughts resonating with warmth. You came to us as a child, curious and unafraid to challenge our assumptions. You leave us as a teacher, a friend, and a beacon of hope for the future. The galaxy will forever be changed by your presence. As Zara boarded the ship that would take her home, accompanied by a delegation of diplomatic representatives from various species, she felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The Earth she was returning to would be both familiar and profoundly changed. The journey back was a time of reflection for Zara. She thought about the wide-eyed girl who had first stepped aboard an alien ship, driven by curiosity and a love of puzzles. She thought about the moments of discovery, of danger, of profound choice. And she thought about the future, not just her own, but that of her species and the galaxy as a whole. As the ship entered Earth's solar system, Zara stood at the view screen, watching her home planet grow larger.